Good morning, everyone. Happy March 29th, 2025. We are almost into April. That is crazy how fast the year is already progressing. I hope everyone is doing well today. I am so excited that you're here. Have some new equipment and stuff today, so I'm excited. I hope you guys can hear me well and see me as well. If you are live, go ahead and drop a hello. Happy Saturday. Today we are going to dive into the Unicorn Career Series, and we're going to explore how we rise, reinvent, and stand out in today's ever-evolving workforce. So I'm your host, Connie Korbelic, and today we're diving into the very first letter of the Unicorn acronym, and that is U for unleashing potential. So, good morning. Here's a truth to just kind of sit with and mull over. You're not stuck. You're paused at the edge of potential. And today is about hitting play again. So before you can step into what's next, you have to get honest with yourself about the brilliance that's already within you. So we're going to reflect back to then move forward. So if you've been feeling stuck, maybe after a layoff, a toxic environment, or just a season of invisibility, those feelings are valid. But here's the thing. Sometimes feeling stuck isn't burnout, it's grief. It's not laziness, it's not lack of motivation, it's mourning. You're grieving the version of you who no longer fits where you are, and that's real. So the first step in unleashing your potential is reflection. So take some quiet time this week and ask, when did I feel the most alive in my work? What do people come to me for? When did I feel valued, fully me, and just in my vibe, right? In my flow. These aren't random moments. These are breadcrumbs pointing back to your purpose. Here's the thing. Potential doesn't shout, it whispers. What's whispering to you right now? If we're always distracted, we'll never hear it. Those sparks, when your heart just lights up and someone says, "You're so good at that," those are not accidents, those are clues. Purpose isn't always about a job title. It's an intersection of what lights you up and what lifts others. So I'll tell you a few real life examples here just to kind of bring this in. I have a mentor returning from Africa right now. He's been sharing his experience on social media, and something in him shifted. That lit a fire in him to do more, give more, be more, and that's what lights you up. One more story. Tell you about my grandmother. She is 80 years young this year. And since my grandfather passed, she's thrown herself into her community work. She's been collecting food that would otherwise go to waste from restaurants and grocery stores and things like that. Last Thursday, she fed over 100 people using a mobile food bank from my grandfather's old church. That is contribution. That is purpose. She's not chasing a paycheck. She didn't need a title. She's following what lifts others. And look at that ripple effect. I am so proud of her. So we'll shift gears and talk about some skills and values, pinpointing your transferable skills and core values and how those are your superpowers. Things like, as far as skills, things like communication, problem solving, emotional intelligence, and adaptability. Now pair those with core values, for example, purpose, collaboration, growth, and authenticity. Take an exercise this week and write down 5 skills that you're regularly complimented on. That, hey, you're so good at that. And then think of 3 values that deeply matter to you. Look for the overlap where That's where your unshakable potential lives. So what does that look like? What's an example of that? Well, perhaps your skills are a clear communicator, you're a problem solver, an empathetic listener, you're calm under pressure, and you're a motivator. And your values might have authenticity, service, or growth. So the overlap would be this person thrives in leadership, coaching, crisis management, and empathy, where thinking clearly makes the difference. Now, let's think of a butterfly. When it emerges from the cocoon, its wings are wet and weak. It has to wait, rest, and strengthen. That is potential. Just because you're not flying yet doesn't mean you won't. Sometimes you're just still in that stillness phase. Your wings are drying, your strength is building. So if your wings still feel soft, don't panic. You're not behind, you are becoming. How beautiful is that? Potential is powerful, but it means absolutely nothing if you can't communicate it clearly. So learn to speak the language of your next opportunity. You must translate your wins into the language that's understood. So instead of, I worked in customer service, you might say, I led a client-focused team that improved satisfaction scores by 20% in 6 months. Use your skills, tell stories, and share the outcomes. So, for example, maybe you wanted to speak to something like that in an interview. You might say something like, I thrived in fast-paced environments focused where communication and empathy make a truly measurable difference. I often was the person that people turn to when things got tough, not just because I stay calm under pressure, but because I find real solutions. I value authenticity, growth, and service. I'm here to elevate the people and systems around me. So here's why this works. Those statements connect your soft skills to impact, weaves your values in without fluff, and positions you as a leader and a contributor. So speak in the language of results. I'll share some real stories of transformation. Knowing your potential is powerful, but growing it, transformational. So let me give you 2 stories of examples of that. Take Sara Blakely. If you don't know who she is the founder of Spanx. She started with $5,000 and absolutely no business experience, but she had creativity, grit, and belief in herself. She learned, she pitched, she failed forward, and now she leads a billion-dollar brand and uplifts women everywhere. Potential. Second example of this, if you don't know, a violinist, really profound and just amazing, Lindsey Stirling. Violinist, dancer, just amazing individual. Go look her up, okay? She didn't fit the mold. She was told on national TV that she wasn't good enough, but she saw her own potential. She kept going. She created a genre of her own. Now she's a global artist who blends classical violin with dance and digital storytelling. She turned "you're not enough" into "this is exactly who I am." And now let's talk about you. That whisper in your gut, that hidden skill, that idea you've shelved, that's your potential. And if you give it your energy, your faith, and courage, it will grow into something more than you could imagine. So now that we've talked about potential and how we review and look into ourselves, harness that, there are tools and things. You don't have to do it alone. So if you're in a season of change, there's tools out there and resources to help you. There's several books that I'll mention here. You've got Designing Your Life by Bill Burnett and Dave Evans. Basically, that book is helping you design and think about building a career and a life that fits you. Second one, very, very famous, The Gifts of Imperfection by Brené Brown. I have my own copy. In this, she talks about just reclaiming your worth, and especially after layoff or identity shake. She's known for speaking on the power of vulnerability, and has a documentary on Netflix, A Call to Courage. What a powerful documentary. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. She discusses what it takes to choose courage over comfort in a culture defined by scarcity, fear, and uncertainty. We're all vulnerable. We're all uncertain and sometimes fearful following career shifts, job loss, identity shifts. You name it, we share in those feelings and sentiments. Number 3 is Pivot by Jenny Blake. That is so practical and powerful, and it gives you direction on shifting without having to burn it all down, right? You're not starting from scratch. You're starting from experience. As we close, Brene Brown says something in her documentary that she says, don't get to the end of your life and have to ask yourself, what if I would have shown up? So I'll leave you with a few questions. Find a quiet moment this week and reflect. What strength have I been downplaying that might actually be the key to my next opportunity? Where have I been held back because I felt too different? What would happen if I let myself fully go there? Write it out, let it rise, because unleashing your potential doesn't require permission, just intention. If something resonated with you today, tag me at Connie Korbelic or message me privately. I'd love to celebrate your insight with you. Before we wrap up today, I kind of jumped the gun just a little bit if you've already seen my socials this morning, but I'm just so thrilled and excited to share. I'll be featured as a guest next week on Wednesday, April the 2nd, on the Sonia Dungy podcast. She is an incredible transformation coach and just the queen of resilience. And we are going to be diving into conversation on resilience through grief. And it's not just the kind that comes from losing someone, but the quiet, heavy grief of shifting identities and unexpected detours. It is going to be real and raw and deeply healing. You really don't want to miss this one. So tune in Wednesday, April 2nd at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, 8 p.m. Eastern. Until then, stay bold, stay bright, and remember, potential may whisper, but you get to speak it out loud. See you soon, unicorns. Thank you so much for joining me today.